Hi, welcome to this week's art tour. My name is Danelle and I've been an artist for about 40 years. In the past, I mostly painted large oil paintings like these two here behind me. But in the last few months, I have gotten so re-inspired with my art by trying some new things. I've been painting small sizes, I've been painting in watercolor and acrylic gouache out on the trails on my walks every morning here in Southeast Alaska. So it's been one challenge after another. Using mediums I'm not used to, doing smaller sizes, doing subjects that I'm not super familiar with doing. I've sketched on trails over the years, off and on, but never really painted in plein air. I also have a pochade box for painting in plein air with my oils. I just don't take it out as often. They're just a little messier and more difficult. So in this art tour today, I'm going to be showing you paintings that are all either watercolor, gouache, or both. Watercolor is the hardest for me, so I often will do a watercolor and just kind of lose control of it. And when I come home, I will have taken a reference photo while I'm out on the trail, and then I will paint over it with gouache paint. And that's really fun. It's very satisfying to fix the mistakes that I made while I was out hurrying. I didn't have as much time, or maybe it started raining. And then to come home and really study it and correct the errors and experiment with things. I also have some footage, if you'd like to stick around for that, of repainting two paintings I did, one yesterday, one today, both of them where I ran out of time or I had problems with the watercolor painting. So if you'd like to see how I fixed those, some of the decisions that I made, I'll put them in fast motion and cut out the boring parts so that it should be pretty quick. Then stick around to the end for that. I appreciate you being here, and let's get going with the tour. Here is my first painting of the week. This is a watercolor, and it looks odd because I was inspired to try this by watching maybe Ian Roberts, and he was talking about you can make a believable painting by changing the color, but not the values or the saturation. So I thought, well, that would be kind of fun to just completely change the colors from being realistic, which here in Southeast Alaska, we're in a rainforest. All the colors are kind of this darkish, greenish color, and it's misty, and sometimes it all just looks gray. So on this day, I decided that I would choose reds and violets as my darks. So I just decided all I needed was a dark of any color. And he was right. It's still very readable. It's kind of odd. Looks like you're looking through a filter. And then this is a little fishing shelter at this lake. And I made the roof of that sort of a bright green so it would kind of stand out from the red. This was really fun. I'd like to try this more often. It's just trying this. It's really fun too because it takes away one challenge, so you can focus on the other challenges, just the drawing and the value, because you have taken away the challenge of getting your colors realistic. So you're just focusing on value and composition, and it kind of simplifies it and frees you up in a way. So I would suggest trying that. It was really fun. I meant to do more this week, but I got distracted, so maybe next week I'll try more. Here's another one at the same lake. This is one of the shelters that is a little bit closer. And this is one that I started in watercolor. I can see some of the watercolor peeking through up here. And then I finished this at home with acrylic gouache. I'm really happy with this one, actually. I felt like I got my drawing pretty accurate for once. It's funny, before I started doing landscapes, I always felt that my strongest skill was drawing. But since doing landscapes, I find that I get things kind of skewed often because I'll get interested in one element or another, maybe a rock or a tree, and I get things out of proportion. But I was pretty happy with the way this one turned out. It's got a good range of values. This little shelter, I was able to draw that very accurately, so that was really fun. Here is another one that I started in watercolor, and it actually turned out pretty good. I did a pencil drawing underneath it. You can actually see a ghost of my pencil up here. I used to only do my watercolors with waterproof pen underneath, so I'm kind of trying something new with the pencil. And I was pretty happy with how this turned out. I've done this location before, but never facing this direction. But when I got home, though, I wasn't able to get these little highlights, pick those highlights out with the watercolors. When I got home, I got some of those highlights in there and over here, and just kind of adjusted things. Up here is still all watercolor. So I'm pretty happy with this one, a nice value range. The colors are really fun. It was a very bright day. The sun, though, comes from, in the morning on my walks, the sun comes from this direction, so sometimes the sun is right in my eyes if I'm looking over here toward the mountains, so the light was pretty good on this day. This is at a little campground that was empty this day. It's the end of the season, so we're finally being able to take walks in some of these campgrounds. This is a creek that winds through here. I used a method that I learned on Niaz Hannon's YouTube channel. Sometimes with the gravel, I like to just use a little bit of splatters with my brush to get a little texture into the gravel. This is all acrylic gouache. This one started as gouache. I did paint this scene once before, but I wasn't very happy with it, so it was really fun to get back there and to paint that again, and I'm pretty happy with the composition. Turned out pretty good with the strongest contrast right here in the middle third and this little zigzag. Pretty happy with that one. This is one that I like to do often here, which is to paint a portrait of a tree. And if you've watched my vlogs, you've probably heard me talk about tree caves here. When an old stump rots down, as it's rotting down, the new trees will grow on top of it. And then when the stump is gone, the little trees are big, and then their roots are still coming down like this, and they make these caves. And these are used for our wild animals will burrow in them. Bears will burrow in those. They can't really dig into our soil because our soil is just kind of this wet peat that lies on top of the shale. This is a very gloomy sort of spot, but I was happy I was able to get a little of that sky in there. Sometimes when I'm painting trees, I don't really look up and see that the sky is back there, so that day I was able to do that. I did finish this one, though, when I got home. I wasn't able to get the richness of depth and the little leaves and the accurate color, as accurate as I could, of this moss that lies everywhere. We have a lot of moss. So that was a really fun one. And this is one that I did at the beach. I actually did a vlog of painting this one. You can check out that card would be up here or up here for that vlog, a beautiful trail. And this one I did start with watercolor, and even though we were painting under a shelter, it was extremely stormy that day, and there was a lot of dampness just kind of blowing through the shelter, so the watercolor, the initial version of this, ended up just looking very blurry and definitely unfinished. So when I got home, I repainted this one, and I do have footage of repainting, not repainting, but painting over the top of it with acrylic gouache on that vlog if you'd like to check that out. And it's a pretty simple one, but it does really capture this area, which is just beautiful with the salt water, and it was so stormy. The sky was just solid gray. Here's another one. We've had a lot of stormy, rainy days, so this is another one where we sat in a shelter near the lake that I painted before. This is near this lake here. And again, I didn't have it's not like I had a great vista or anything, so I went for just trying to capture these trees. I don't think this is a terribly fascinating painting, but I achieved my goal of getting a little bit of the sky in there and paying attention to the drawing, and just kind of capturing I liked how these three trees were all just kind of leaning together in sync. And so it's a pretty simple one. I did not work on this one again after I got home. I was pretty happy with just how it turned out. I kind of like putting a little bit of this red in here. The trunks do have kind of a warm color, but I feel like that kind of adds those bits of red, add a little bit of zing, being the complement to all this green. And here are the ones that I have clips of finishing. This I started in watercolor, and I liked the watercolor initially, but here's one that I really messed up the drawing. This rock here was way too big and fat, took up too much room, and I thought of leaving that rock out of the composition, but I kind of like the way it anchors it, and that's the way the scene looked realistically. So I'll show you, when I show you this clip of me repainting this with acrylic gouache, I will put my original reference photo next to it so you can kind of see what I was looking at. Here is my most recent one, and this was this morning. This was on a different beach, and the sky was just very very gray, and it was like rainy, but it had some spots that were bright, so you can kind of see where a little bit of glowing sun was kind of peeking out on these far back mountains. I'm not sure if I love this edge here. It kind of cuts it right off. I maybe should put, maybe make these trees a little bit higher, maybe bring some branches over here to just kind of bring this forward and don't make it just cut off there. But I'm pretty happy with the way the water turned out. And again, I used the splattering on the gravel here on the beach, which I thought worked pretty well. So I'm fairly happy with this one, and I feel like I'm learning a lot, and repainting and painting over things using my reference photos, I think, is teaching me so much about the challenges I'm facing in drawing and where I'm making mistakes. And this one was very tough because I've never really done big dramatic clouds with acrylic gouache. When I first painted these in watercolor, the watercolor was easier because watercolor just kind of naturally flows and looks like clouds. So I really had to do some learning. But I'll show you the videos now of me repainting these, and I'll share some of my thoughts as we go. Here is the watercolor painting that I did yesterday. You can see it compared to that reference photo. The rock is not in proportion. So I was pretty excited to fix this. You can also see that the watercolor in the sky got some blooms in it. I think I must have gone back to adjust the color. I'm forgetting that watercolor will do that if you put some color into paint that's not quite dry yet. So, and the watercolor dried a lot lighter too. It looked more dramatic and more like it did in real life before it was dry. So I was trying to get some of that warm color in those rocks, but I wanted to keep the value dark still because it was in silhouette. I was having so much fun with that purple color. I don't get to use purple out in our landscapes very often. I was trying to be brushy and kind of free and not worry too much about the clouds, even though I was worrying. Landscapes are new to me, and painting dramatic cloudscapes even more new to me. So this was exciting, but also a little nerve-wracking. I also was having little troubles getting, though I was really having fun with that beautiful aqua color too, another color that you don't find here too often. I was having a little troubles with the orange glow that was in those purple and blue clouds because of orange being the complement to blue. You have to be really careful to not get it muddy and brown. You can see that it's looking a little brownish there. So I wanted to like softly blend, but if you blend blues and oranges, that can be a problem. So I'm just adjusting values there, lightening up that sandbar. Getting a little more drama in the clouds. I was just really experimenting here because this is very new to me. I've never painted a sky like this before. And acrylic gouache too can be, I find it a little trickier to get soft blending that you need on those cloud edges. So that was also a challenge for me. I'm trying to get that orange in there, finishing up the drawing. The drawing looks a lot better. Last little highlights on the clouds. and getting those edges softened up a little bit. And there it is. Pretty happy with it. My first dramatic sky attempt. And here is today's painting. There is a reference photo in the upper left. You can see how the sun is glowing on those farther islands. You can also see how off my drawing was. Those farther islands extended way across the painting farther. So I'm going to be fixing that, and then I make a mess with, got my colors muddy. There was too much water in the sky. So I just wiped it off. No big problem. Getting those reflections of those nearby trees there that are down the beach a little bit. Accidentally getting a little green in my sky, that not cleaning my brush enough. That's kind of a habit from being out doing in plein air when I don't have a lot of water to keep cleaning my brush thoroughly. So that feels very satisfying when I was fixing that drawing. I did get the island a little too high up though, so I did have to adjust that, wiping it off. So a lot of corrections, a lot of learning, a lot of training the eye, even though I've been painting for 40 years. This quick, small painting process is still pretty new to me. My large oil paintings, I would take days and many hours doing them, so this has just been really fun to try this new approach, getting some of the highlights in the trees there. More highlights in that far island, trying to capture that warm glow of light that was back there. Crispening up that shore. Trying to use a little more water to get a little more of a flow effect in my water, which I think helped a lot. I'm still learning a lot about acrylic gouache and how much water to use, and the watercolor too. These water mediums. Just trying to figure that out is also a challenge for me. So all these challenges are so fun. I hope that you're trying new things and keeping your inspiration up doing that. Trying to get the last little details on the waves. Realize it's a little too dark blue, so I'm kind of graying those out just a little bit. And then I go back, now that it's dry, I can go back and get the sky, get the green out of the sky. That happens a lot when I'm painting. My yellow ochre just gets everywhere. Oh, and now this is my trick to block off the areas that I don't want to get splattered when I put the little splatters on the gravel, which I thought turned out pretty good with this painting. So it's always fun pulling the tape off. It just feels like you're tidying it up in a very easy way. Thanks for being here for this week's art tour. It is really, really motivating and fun for me to share my work with you and hear your feedback. And I really love hearing about what you're doing. Do you do in plein air paintings? Are you trying new mediums? Are you trying new sizes or new subjects? I would love to hear about it. It's really great to have you here in the community. I'd love it if you'd consider subscribing, hit the like button. I'm really having fun with this conversation with you all. So anyway, stay creative and have fun.